Chapter 13. Puhi o Kalei Kini. The blowhole was known as Puhi o Kalei Kini. The name Kalei Kini came from the one who stopped the spray from killing the plants. Under the blowhole was a cave that was the home of the shark. Some of the natives worshipped this shark, who was their guardian angel. When the ocean was rough, the spray became like raindrops. The natives prayed to the shark and offered food, such as live pig, thrown into the sea. As the shark returned to eat the pig and rested in the cave, the spray stopped, so the natives believed their prayers were being answered. Some of the natives did not believe, as they thought there could be other ways to stop the salt spray. They called on one of the kahunas to find the answer. To do this, the kahuna called a get-together session. They sat around the kahuna, and he invoked the prayer of meditation. In this prayer, he asked the god of the four winds to bring the message, the answer, to their need. After that was done, he asked that each one there take an inventory of his heart, so that they all must be cleansed and be humble, in order that one of them would be rewarded with the knowledge of what they must do to receive this help. As long as their intentions were not humble, there would not be any help. Those present confessed to each other and were forgiven. When that was done, the kahuna instructed them to go to their huts, rest, and wait for an answer. One of the members fell asleep, and in his dream, he saw this man with a lei around his neck, chopping a log with an adze and chanting at the same time. He had the strength of several men. He walked up to the man and asked whose canoe he was building. The man told him it was for King Kamehameha I. One of the other members came into his hut and woke him up. He told him that he had the answer, so they gathered at the kahuna's hut, and he listened to his dream. He prayed to the four winds in thanksgiving for the answer. The next day, the members prepared a small going-away meal and gave him a good luck charm, the tusk of the boar, to hang around his neck. He bid them goodbye and was on his way. He traveled to the mountain. Along the way, he stopped at small villages and asked the people if they saw a woodcutter who always chanted and wore a lei around his neck. The answer was always no. He was not downhearted, as he knew he would meet this man, so he kept on walking. The sun was setting over the horizon, and there was no village near where he could rest for the night, so he picked up berries and other wild fruit and ate. He came to a place and sat down. It was getting dark, and he fell asleep, but was awakened by the sound of several men walking and speaking a language he could not understand. The moon was shining, but it gave out a weird haze surrounding the area. This time, he could see the moving objects. They were little people, like the menehunes, walking in single file. He watched them until they disappeared behind the trees. At this time, he heard the rooster crow, and a little after that, the chickens cackled. He then heard the sound of someone cutting a log and wondered why so early in the morning. He got up and went to find out what all the commotion was about. As he came to the tree, he saw that the menehunes were preparing to leave. Just at that time, the big tree fell toward the opposite side from him. As he looked around, there were no menehunes to be seen. Dawn was approaching, but he was still looking for the woodcutter. He retraced his steps back to the main trail, where he saw a woodcutter crossing his trail. He asked him where he was going. His answer was that he was going to build a canoe for the king. His tool was an adze to chip the log. The man said to himself, "I think I am going to watch him do his work." He turned back and followed the woodcutter and watched him with amazement. The log that the menehunes chopped down was the same log with which he was going to build the canoe. The woodcutter picked some wild flowers and made them into a lei and wore it around his neck. As he began to work, he started chanting. In no time, he had the log shaped into a canoe. He remembered that, in his dream, this was the man he was looking for, so he called him Kalei. Since he wore a lot of leis, the appropriate name would be Kalekini. The woodcutter liked the name, so he asked him to come to Kalapana to stop the blowhole from flooding the ocean spray on the land, as the plants could not grow on account of the salt spray and the people were hungry. After hearing this, the woodcutter was willing to offer his help and took the member home to his hut. There was nobody living with him. He lived the life of a hermit, and whenever help was needed, he was willing to go. He always got the help of the menehunes when he needed them. They only worked at night. The man was glad he understood all this before he returned with Kalekini to Kalapana. He told his newly found friend that he was delighted to find him and return him to his people, and that they must leave that night. And Kalekini agreed and said it would be easy, as the trail would be the Menehune trail, and that these trails were short, and by dawn they would be in Kalapana. The man was surprised, as he had walked a long distance to find Kalekini. Kalekini said, "I will chant, and the Menehunes will clear my trail to take you home." As the rooster crowed, the time was 3 o'clock, and in a few hours the light of dawn shone in the sky. He saw the Menehunes walking ahead, clearing the trail as Kalekini chanted. As soon as the light of dawn shone in the sky, the Menehunes disappeared. Kalekini stopped his chant and called to his friend, "We are at your home." "How do you know this is my home?" asked the man. Kalekini said, "I can smell the ocean breeze with that seaweed aroma. There is no place that I have been that gives such an aroma like this. I have been here several times at the request of the Menehunes building mullet holes. I believe you have a few here that I recall." The sun was shining from the east as the two arrived at the kahuna's hut. The kahuna and members of the village were there waiting to receive them. According to legend, the kahuna used mental telepathy in receiving his communication, and meals were prepared to receive the stranger. He was introduced to the members and the kahuna as Kalekini. "This is a nice name with a nice omen," declared the kahuna. "You must rest, and tomorrow we will show you what is to be done at the blowhole. As you will see, the place is dry and the plants cannot grow." After much feasting, the night was nearing and it was time to rest. The members and the kahuna left. Kalekini went to his friend's hut and slept. As the sun was creeping from the horizon, Kalekini and his friend were ready to look at the blowhole. When he came to the blowhole, the spray stopped and the ocean was calm. He saw everything was in order, as if nothing would happen. The shark who guarded the blowhole was the guardian angel who knew he had an enemy to fight. He must use his power to show Kalekini there was nothing at all. But Kalekini sensed that he was intruding in enemy territory. He said to his friend, "Let's go home and give me time to think. This is a matter between the shark and me to fight out." He told his friend that the keeper of the shark was living in this village, and he wanted to control the people of the village, and being a minority, the only method was to starve the people. He told his friend he had a plan, but wanted to keep it to himself, and he would be away for a few nights. During the day, he would be in the village. Those few nights, he was conferring with the Menehunes to bring kawila wood from the mountain. The following day, he announced to the members that he was ready to close the blowhole. The opposition party heard this. and they opposed the move. They had the shark to help them fight. That night, the Menehunes brought the Kawila wood to the blowhole. The Menehunes knew that the shark always lived in the cave. As soon as dawn appeared in the sky, Kalekini came to the blowhole just as the shark was leaving. He rolled the rock from the blowhole back and laid the Kawila across the hole, with just a small opening. Then he rolled the heavy rock over the Kawila wood. This way, he shut off the blowhole pressure from blowing the spray high in the sky. He also closed the entrance to the cave so the shark could not live there anymore. As soon as the word got to the natives of the village, they thanked Kalekini for his generous help to stop the spray. In recognition of the job well done, they named it Puhi o Kalekini. Today, the blowhole throws a small spray when the ocean is rough. When the sea is calm, you can hear a whistle sound. The natives gave him a luau for a celebration in his honor and asked him to stay. He thought for a while, and this is what he said. "I would love to stay, but I have to return to my work for building canoes for the king." With this little remark, he left the village, and they all waved at him until he was lost in the distance.